independent learners, you know.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree. I mean, we've adjusted from my point of view, being the guy that travels the country and gives presentations and everything else. And, we've been able to do it without much of a notice, but the idea of being face to face is
mhm.
the best way. I mean, teacher to teacher, so much better. So we'll get started. I know y'all got a lot to do. I'm Mike Sheffer. I'm the Director of Education for the FoolProof Foundation. I'm a retired teacher out of New York State, one of the founders of FoolProof. I taught in Corning Painted Post High School for 32 years, economics, business, finance. I was the Dean of Students for my last 5, which probably pushed to retirement. That job always gets you out the door quickly. Coach basketball and golf. Just love teaching. Love the idea of teaching financial literacy, of money skills. Every single day we taught money skills. So the transition to FoolProof was really a good one for me. I was the original FoolProof teacher. FoolProof was created in my classroom with our CEO, Will DeHoo, and our consumer advocate, chairman of the board of the FoolProof Foundation, Ramar Sutton. We've come a long way since Corning Painted Post, one class, one school, one teacher. And we're real proud of what we've been able to do across the country and the world with financial literacy. We are 100% free. There's no gimmick to it. There is absolutely no lost leader. First year is free. And then, of course, you have to pay. That's nothing that we do in FoolProof. We're a partner with Maine Jumpstart. That's the connection at Maine. I'm usually up at the conference. I try to go every couple of years. We are a small foundation when it comes to that process, but we try to make our way around the country almost every 2 years. I'm the education department, and by that I mean I do all the teacher training, all the webinars. FoolProof was designed to be peer-to-peer for your students. And we're going to go into that, but we also believed in the training of FoolProof needs to be peer-to-peer as well. When I'm talking to you today, I'm a former teacher. I've lived pretty much everything you've been through, in the classroom, and then the idea of creating curriculum to make it easier for you to implement it is always important for us as well on the back end of FoolProof. So today we're going to break it down into 2 parts. I'll do a quick presentation for you. I'll pull it over to PowerPoint, kind of give you some of the idea. This is being recorded as well. So if you miss anything, in about 48 hours, I'll send it to Jumpstart Maine. And then there's things on there for you as well. Also, anything that you need moving forward, you want to go through me. So I'm going to show you how to log into FoolProof and how to get a teacher account and all those things. But instead of going to FoolProof info, you just go right to me, and my email address is mike@foolproofhq.com. And I'll say it 2 or 3 times today. So it's mike@foolproofhq.com. And then I can help you through if there's any questions. Sooner or later, if you went to FoolProof info, it was going to me anyways. We're just going to eliminate the middleman as we go through it. So I'm going to actually just kind of switch over. If you want to take it off, put yourself on mute, fine. If you don't want to be on video, that's fine. I'm going to keep me on video because it kind of keeps me connected a little bit. And that's one of the things that I've kind of learned to do in Zoom meetings, especially, just to feel like you're in front of an audience. If someone could just give me hey, I can see the video kind of audio, because sometimes when you share in Zoom, you think everyone sees it and they're all going, hey man, we can't see a thing. So I'm coming from you actually in my office in the house. We've kind of geeked it up a little bit. The FoolProof banner behind it, we've elevated the laptop a little bit. We have some cameras, so hopefully everything goes well. Please use the chat or just interrupt me and say, hey, Mike, I have a question as we go through. We'll have plenty of times for questions after it, but we'll do a little PowerPoint. We'll go live on the FoolProof so you can see it live. I want to show you all some of the bells and whistles of FoolProof. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep myself on track and get you out of here in less than an hour. And then I can be available after the fact if you want to talk or anything to there. All right? Anybody have any questions? Everybody hear me okay? Everybody's good? Audio, video's good? All right. You never know. I hear a little child. I like that. We're getting a financial literate right away at a young age. You know, kids, you know the stat. Kids start really developing their money habits and skills and thoughts right around the age of 6 or 7. It's kind of interesting. And of course, we have a program. How many of you are high school teachers? Any middle school teachers? We have a program, Foolproof for middle schools as well. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Once you're a Foolproof teacher, you get everything we do. We have workplace skills. We have Foolproof Solo. We have articles, videos for adults, everything that's in there. And once you're a Foolproof teacher, you get all that. So I'll share the middle school so you can see kind of our thought process on that. All right, we're going to try this and see if it works. How am I doing? Everybody see it?
Yep. It is there.
Thank you. All right, so Foolproof's a foundation, 100% free. We're funded by credit unions, grant money, Cypre money, which is Cypre money is the money that is given to foundations that do good work. And we are registered as a Cypre foundation. So we're not bound by anyone's money. That's the key. We can 100% give true financial literacy, educational curriculum without having any message in there that's selling anything for anyone. And actually, there's only a couple foundations that do that. And the only one that I see that's similar to Foolproof that is not digital is NextGen. NextGen and Tim and his team are great friends of ours. They do a wonderful job. And they're very similar to us with no agenda except giving you the best information that you can use in your classroom. So Foolproof was, hang on a minute. There we go. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to go through, we align 100% to the Maine personal finance standards. It's on our website. We talked a little bit about how Foolproof is free. We're going to show you how to register as a teacher. And then how you can implement Foolproof into your classroom right away. We were featured on Good Morning America 2 summers ago. Our little foundation got a call from Good Morning America and saying, hey, we've heard some really good things about your company and we'd like to do a story on it. And I hear you're rolling out a middle school version, but we would like to see that in action. So we have the video is about 6.5 minutes long. I'm not going to show it all today, but you could go to our website and see it. And the cool thing about it is it was done in one of our schools that we partnered with in Chicago, Ariel Community School. And Ariel School is in the inner city of Chicago, 100% free and reduced lunch, but they teach financial literacy from kindergarten through the 8th grade. It's kind of an amazing place, and they use our curriculum. So the cameras went to Ariel and filmed some things, but the cool thing for me is they interviewed one of my former students who used Foolproof growing up in my classes and my curriculum, and he's one of the Foolproof classes that we had, and he told Good Morning America how it affected him. So it was really nice for me to see that in that process. So I just put a little clip together for it. It's not the whole thing. I just wanted you to kind of get an idea of what we do and how Good Morning America used us in their clip.
It's called Foolproof.
Foolproof is teaching kids as young as 12 that financial literacy starts with being a healthy skeptic.
Who can tell me what a healthy skeptic is?
You have to ask questions and not always believe everything so you can do your own research.
The kids enjoy it and have a lot of fun with it.
Before I started running Chicago Public Schools, I helped start a small school called Ariel Community Academy. Foolproof has been a great partner in terms of helping shape the curriculum. Having a chance to have access to high quality curriculum in whatever subject is extraordinarily important for our kids, and Foolproof's a big piece of what we try and do at Ariel.
So glad that Foolproof now has a middle school curriculum. because kids, that's really the time when you want to start teaching kids skepticism.
Well, I like that it's broken up into different modules.
The information is quality. Like I said, we went through and evaluated the entire program.
Their language is very clear, their language is pure, and it doesn't get caught up in there's not a sort of subtle selling that's going on.
They really advocate for the students, and it's the student taking ownership of their own finances.
You need to understand what you can afford, what you can't afford, and what's important and what's not important in life. And I think those are messages that FoolProof can teach kids.
And they teach kids to think about things like, what is the viewpoint of the marketer, how to delay gratification, what are the things that marketers aren't teaching you in their messages, what's missing from the story.
To the point of what Roberta was saying about FoolProof, they talk about skepticism. There's so many media messages to buy and upgrade and do better.
The emphasis is on questioning advertising, fighting skepticism, being a skeptical consumer, fighting impulse buying, avoiding unnecessary debt, and really a focus on saving, overspending.
And that's why it's so important that we have a program that does those things independently.
FoolProof.
So those numbers are a little bit low. You can imagine a foundation like ours being featured on Good Morning America, what that did to usage. It kind of exploded us into a whole other, as I call, stratosphere. But I'll give you the numbers that we're at now as of May 20th, which is today. So FoolProof's 100% free. The website is right there. It's just we're going to go through the process of going live in our presentation. But that's where you get it. Your students will go in there too, foolproofme.org. That will be the website. So it's no cost to schools, 100% free. There's no catch. There's, like I said, no lost leader. It's not like you use it for a year and then have to pay for the second year. FoolProof isn't bound by anyone's money as well. So we're able to be real, true consumer advocates and teachers. No one can shape our message. We're all web driven, and we're going to do more than a rote repetition of financial literacy. We're going to go through and teach your students critical thinking skills to be a healthy skeptic, to rely on research. And the way that we do our modules kind of takes the student down a road when it deals with like credit and debit cards and financial institutions and scams and everything else. It kind of give them the tools to make good, solid decisions. Again, we're not going to sell anything on FoolProof. So let's say the largest employer in Maine wants to be the sponsor for all teachers in Maine. We're going to vet that sponsor like they've never been vetted before, and they're going to sign a contract that they have zero control of what we do, period. And they'll get a logo on the bottom of FoolProof where you sign in. That's it. Now, from a business point of view, it's probably not the best business plan, but it seems to work for us because our integrity is always intact. And one of the things with FoolProof is you're always going to get the best non-biased advice on the content. So for instance, and I'll show you when we go live, if you were going to buy a new car, and if you want, and you typed into a Google search, what's better, buying or leasing? The first 6 things you're going to get are going to be from 3 leasing companies and 3 loan companies, period. But if you click on FoolProof, we're going to give you all the advantages and disadvantages of both and let you make the decision. But again, think about it. I have over 16,000 teachers that use FoolProof. Wouldn't you think that a marketer would like that email list and be able to solicit that way and different things and put their spin on it? And we just don't allow it because we're not going to be bound by anyone's message. It's going to be the message for the student and the educator. All right, so here's the numbers. Remember, I was the first FoolProof teacher, started in my classroom, 1 class, 1 teacher, 1 school. Already, and we're not even done with the 2020 school year, we've already had over 90,000 new students, over 1,600 new teachers. You can see where we are now, close to 14,000 teachers, and that's wrong because I haven't added everything in from 19 and 20, and we're in about it'll be over 9,000 schools that actually use FoolProof. So the message is clear, it's concise, and it's fitting the need of students and teachers across the country, and we're very proud of that. So a lot of you, it all depends on your age, and we're not gonna age this out or anything, but I took the slide off of a picture of Walter Cronkite. Now, Walter Cronkite was a great friend of mine, chairman of the board emeritus for Mar Sutton. And Walter took a lot of interest later in his life on what we were doing. And the one thing that he said to us is, if you're bound by anyone's money, you can't tell both sides of the story. So he goes, the one thing that you want to do is you want to be able to tell both sides of the story. He also gave us this mantra: have your people use caution, question sellers, rely on research. So by the time we met Walter, we had one module. We decided that we wanted to continue with the whole idea of really helping people make good, sound decisions. When Mr. Cronkite died, unbeknown to us, he left us his name. But he didn't want the company to be called anything Walter Cronkite. He loved the name FoolProof, but he left us his name to raise money. So we have a project that's called the Walter Cronkite Initiative. And then through our foundation, we use Mr. Cronkite's connections in media and finance and everything else to help raise money for FoolProof. Mr. Cronkite's grandson, Walter Cronkite III, is a member of our board. So, you know, if you ever looked it up and you went on the FoolProof Foundation site and you see Mr. Cronkite, now you know why. Up every now and then. There we go. So we are going to work with your students about the critical thinking part of financial literacy. We want them to make good decisions. We want them to make good decisions, you know, if they go to a party, who to get in a car with, who not to get in a car with, all those different things. We feel that if we can teach critical thinking skills and financial literacy, it'll actually help them make better decisions in life down the road. If they rely on research, if they are a healthy skeptic, and of course, they're always thinking about them and their money, not the idea of just spending it, but the process of making good, sound skill decisions. Now, in the video, you saw a couple of people speak. Those were from these organizations, and we're the only financial literacy program endorsed by the 4 major consumer groups: Public Citizen, Council, Federation of America, and then the other 2. No one else. They don't endorse things. And one of the things that they love about us is the healthy skepticism, rely on research, and we're not bound by anyone's money. And of course, we're national partners with Jumpstart. We're here today because of Jumpstart Maine. Again, I was going to be in Maine at the conference. Like I said, we try to come every 2 years. Has anybody ever gone to the Jumpstart National Conference? It is fantastic. It's the best financial literacy you're ever going to spend. And they totally made it so teacher friendly on the point of you get a scholarship, you get a sponsor for your transportation. We were in Washington last year. We were the keynote speaker on Sunday morning. And I brought 3 FoolProof teachers, and we did a teacher panel on how they use FoolProof in their classroom. So there was 465 teachers at that conference. 98 of them were already FoolProof teachers. 320 of them signed up for FoolProof. And I'm going, that's the best audience I can be in, because we're all thinking, we're all trying to get to the process of how to be able to teach financial literacy in a way that is going to benefit our students. But if you ever have a chance to go to the Jumpstart National Conference, I would put that on my list. And so far, it's happening in November. I am grounded through August right now. I mean, I have no travel. Every part of the country I was supposed to be in has moved their conferences, professional development, all those different things. We're doing them all virtual now. So FoolProof is going to be web driven. It's going to be all interactive. It's all online. peer-to-peer teaching. Now think about it. 178 videos in Foolproof for high schools. Of the 178 videos, they're all professionally shot, and they're all done by age-appropriate students. So we write the scripts. So I'm going to show you a couple videos, but the idea is that we believe talking to students, not at students, is the way to go. So you have all your information in your module, and then you have videos that are 30 to 45 seconds long of a young person talking about the information that's in the module. And they're from all over the world. We want to be as diverse as we could, peer-to-peer teaching. One of the biggest things that we found out in the success of Foolproof was that right there, talking to students, not at students. There's pre and post tests. We'll talk about that. It's tough as nails. There is a closed caption option for Foolproof. There is a Spanish version of Foolproof for high schools. Middle school is coming. And there's a special education version of Foolproof for high schools with that coming for middle schools as well. All right, and we're going to show you that today. So Foolproof is used in high schools, middle schools, community centers, technical schools, youth groups. Foolproof's used by, I just got off right before our webinar. I just did a webinar for Dallas Independent School District. Let me give you their numbers. I was astounded by how big that school district was. 155,000 students, 10,000 teachers, all going to use Foolproof. And I went, great, we'll set it up for you. Now, we also have LA County schools, Broward County in Florida, Palm Beach County, Chicago Public Schools, things like that. But the idea is that Foolproof can be done at a large scale or a very small scale. It doesn't matter. Every Foolproof teacher is the same. They have the ability to customize their curriculum however they want to do it. So in Maine, you have all your school districts, all just like in New York. I taught in New York. Every school district had a school board. Everybody was making decisions. The teachers had a lot of control in the situation, what they put in their classroom. It doesn't matter the size. It can be easily done in every curriculum. All right, let's talk about Foolproof for high schools. There's 3 parts of Foolproof for high schools. First part is the modules. There are 18 45 to 60-minute modules. Each module has a pre and a post test. We're going to talk about standard learning objective as we go. Now, a lot of teachers use the modules as supplement to their instruction. So if you're having a personal finance class and you've decided that you like what Foolproof does, you may just use this as a supplement. You have that, once you're a Foolproof teacher, you can use it in any way, shape, or form. But we have a lot of teachers teaching personal finance, the 20-week class, and they're using Foolproof as an interactive textbook and as a standalone curriculum for their students. And they're using the modules, the assignments, and the group activities. Now, the modules are all self-graded. The assignments, the students do it. They do the assignments and they send them to you on the Foolproof platform. So they don't have to go outside of Foolproof to be able to open up a Word document and then send a Word document to you. Everything is funneled toward your class on your teacher portal. You have to grade those because, again, you may have a different grading scale for an essay or a outline or a research project. But we give those to you. And then there's group activities. Now, my last year of teaching, we rolled this out. So in 2017, I taught a personal finance class for 20 weeks using Foolproof only. And I had to hustle to get it all in. I was like, oh, there's not enough here. Well, by the time the kids do the group activities and do their presentations and you do all the interactive things with it and they do their modules and a kid failed the module, so you have them do it again. I mean, it's amazing that you're looking at it going, wow, it's April. I got to get going. Because in New York, our school year was very similar to yours. We would start after Labor Day and we would end the 3rd week in June. So the idea is that you can use Foolproof Supplemental or you can use everything we have as a standalone class. Now remember, it's free. No more textbooks, all these different, and everything's online. And you have the ability to print stuff too. Now, the modules really, I have not figured out a great way to print the modules with all the videos. But the idea is if you didn't, when I left my school, we were 1-to-1. So every kid had a computer. Well, we were very lucky. If you get into a situation where you can't do that, you could actually do what I'm doing right now. You could bring up the FoolProof module, put it on the smart board, and or do it over a Zoom call if we're still remote in the fall, and you could go through the situation of using it as an interactive textbook, especially if you have kids that struggle with certain topics like credit score, APR, all those different ones that are a little bit more difficult. All right, so everything's online. Everything's about young people. Every story is true and foolproof. We vet it. Here's a great example. I'm in California last May giving a speech. This young student, I was doing the annual Family Consumer Science Leadership Conference. So all these kids, we did a huge thing with the kids and the teachers. The kids, one child told me, she was 14 or 15 years old, she got scammed on 2 sets of concert tickets. I said, well, getting scammed once wasn't enough for you? You decided to get scammed twice? And she goes, oh, that's not funny. And I go, I really want to hear your story. So afterwards, she told me the story, and I said, I'd like to buy the story. Because what we do is we want true stories. We shoot a video on it. Well, she wanted to be in the video, but we only use professional actors in the video. And I said, well, you can't be in the video, but I need to talk to your parents because we'd like to buy the story. And she goes, well, my mom's a teacher and she's here. I had coffee with her mom and the daughter, and we went through it. And we bought the story for $150. It's our normal buy the story. And she loves the video. It's on FoolProof now because they have to be updated. They have to be current. They have to be in the process of this is relating to your students. Because if they're not, the average attention span on a video for a high school or middle school student is 35 seconds. Our videos are 30 seconds to 45 seconds long because they're clicking and they're moving forward, and especially if it's not done right. So we have a videographer from California who is on our payroll, and he shoots all our videos. And you'll see, as we go through them, they're very high quality. There's game breaks in FoolProof. I don't want you to get, scared if you look over and your students are playing a little game. They're in a minute and a half, that game is gone. We got to remember the audience. Our audience are middle schoolers and high schoolers at this point. We have to make sure that we're talking to them. All right, so here's a video. I don't know if you know much about The Simpsons, but that looks like a Simpsons character. My videographer was a huge fan of The Simpsons, still is. This video was created when I flew into Knoxville, Tennessee, and I drove to Gatlinburg, Tennessee to do Jumpstart Tennessee. I saw 28 check cashing places on my way. 28. Payday loans, check cashing, different things. I was shocked. So I said, we've got to do something like these students have to have a relationship with a financial institution because if they don't, they're going to places like this. Mm-hmm. I know your students have jobs. Let's talk about this real quick. I'm watching my time, but do you know how your students are being paid right now? Are they being paid by check? Most places aren't writing checks anymore.
No.
2 ways to pay them right now. Direct deposit and the pay debit card. Do you know what the pay debit card is? So these kids are getting paid on reloadable pay debit cards. It's one of the biggest scams against our kids right now. And here's why. They can't manipulate wealth. They can't create wealth because they can't move money out of one account to another so they don't spend it. If they go over a certain amount of transactions on the pay debit card, they're charged a fee. And the employer is getting a kickback from the pay debit people for the more they sign up, their payroll costs are less. So think about this. I'm 16 years old. I just got my first job. I'm going to go fill out my W-4, which is daunting enough for our kids. They go to fill out the W-4, and an adult is going to say, do you have a relationship with a bank or a credit union? And the kid may go, I don't know. And he says, oh, we're going to pay you on this card. You know what this is. Your money's on this card. And every week, and we're going to pay you 2 days earlier than everybody else. So they put all that incentive in, and a young kid is going to say, sure, whatever. The problem is they can't manipulate wealth. They can't save money. Any kid's going to look at it and say, well, I get paid in 3 days. I got $80. Let's go to dinner. Let's go do this. Instead of creating like how we do it is we move money to account so we make sure that we can watch it grow. And number two, the fees. So we're actually fighting. Now in the state of Maine, I did my research, they must offer direct deposit. If they don't offer direct deposit, they are in violation. Now, how many people are going to blow them in? But if you should ask your students someday, how do you get paid? And the reason a lot of them don't do direct deposit is they don't have a relationship with a financial institution because their parents may not have a relationship with a financial institution. Now, you remember your parent probably walked you down to the local bank and the local credit union, and you got your passbook savings account, and you put your birthday money in there, your Christmas money in there, or your first paychecks are in there. But these kids are now so digitized that they don't understand that they really are being taken advantage of. So this is what I'm going to show you is the old video. And then the new video is rolling out on FoolProof in the fall. It talks about the pay debit card. But in the process, this is in module 4, and it talks about the relationship with a financial institution. So I just wanted to give you an idea. And this isn't an actor. I have an actor one for you. But this is just a little animation that we did.
Hey, wait a minute. Why do I have to worry about scammers and checking accounts at all? Can't I forget checking accounts, period, and buy money orders to pay for everything? You could. But money orders are a ripoff compared to the cost of paying by check, and they take time to get. Plus, money orders don't build credit. Then can't I just cash my check at one of those check cashing offices? You shouldn't cash a check at a check cashing office. Most of the services are ripoffs.
That place is a ripoff.
Check cashing services charge up to 20% to cash a personal check. That means if you cash a $500 check, you have to pay $100. Lame. How many hours do you work to take home $100? It costs practically nothing to put your paycheck in a checking account, and your money is safe. Your money can earn interest, plus you're building credit.
So that video literally was 30 seconds long, 35 seconds long, and it was just something that we developed, and we thought it was just kind of a nice way to be able to do that. Oh, I lost something, sorry. I gotta go back. There it is. So the one thing about that video, if you think back of it, one of the phrases was, how long does it take you to make $100? Everything needs to be related back to your student. One of the best things about teaching business and economics in my 32-year career was they're always interested in themselves, aren't they? I'm glad I wasn't the English teacher. I'm glad I wasn't the science teacher. I like talking to kids about money, and I like talking to them about themselves in the realm of money and how they are, need to be financially solid, literate, and all those different things. So that's one of the things that we took into FoolProof with the idea, let's really talk about them. Let's just not talk about concepts. So in that video, you got the concept, and of course that percentage is higher now, but it's okay to talk the concept that this is how they take the money from you, but how long does it take you to earn that money is such a big thing. All right, so here's some of the core modules. 18 modules in FoolProof. Everybody wants to know if you're going to use FoolProof module-based only, how long it would take in the classroom. Well, if you're teaching personal finance and you're just using the modules, you're only going to eat up about 3 weeks. That's not enough. So by the time you supplement in the assignments and the activities, you start rolling out to the 20 weeks. But some people are saying, listen, I have a really good curriculum, but I like FoolProof, and I'd like to use FoolProof to kind of enhance my curriculum. How long would it take? Well, if it's a 45 to 60 minute class, that's non-block, it would take you right around 2.5 weeks. The other thing, what a lot of teachers are doing is they're using FoolProof on Fridays. They call it FoolProof Friday. And they're looking at their curriculum, and they're now picking and choosing the curriculum that matches theirs at the time frame, and they're doing FoolProof on Friday. In the state of Utah, here's an example. The state of Utah has a graduation requirement in financial literacy. The state of Maine does not. The state of Utah does. The state of Utah also has a financial literacy exam that the students have to take. Teachers are using FoolProof as their review. So it kind of gives them the concepts, to get used to the testing, and they use it that way. But these are what we call the original 6 modules for FoolProof. And then here are our supplemental modules. The original 6 are really 8 because there's 2 guided practice. Those modules will take anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes to complete, all the way through the testing. These supplemental modules are a little bit shorter. They'll take right around 35 to 45 minutes. Okay, so again, we're not trying to rush it, but we're just trying to give you an idea how long it would take if you use modules only. Now again, a lot of teachers use more than just the modules. Here's our middle school. Our middle schools is unique. We do financial literacy in the middle school modules, but we also talk about you being in charge of your life. Now remember, we talked about the age of 7 is where kids really start to develop their money, financial literacy ideas and patterns and habits, but technically they don't have anything to do with it because they don't have any money. Sometimes middle schoolers have a little bit of idea on, hey, I want to buy this, or I want to save for this, or something to that effect. So one of the things that we've talked about is in the middle school version, and they're going to take about 20 minutes. They're going to cover about 20 plus topics. So technically for your middle school version, it's going to be less than 2 weeks. It really talks about who's trying to separate them from their money, native advertising, trying to avoid bad decisions, who and what you should trust on the internet. I mean, there's a lot of good life skills in this. They're sprinkled in. So let's say you have a class in the 9th grade that you're doing personal finance in, which I don't know if that's the best grade to do it in, but some schools are saying, hey, you got to teach it. It's a life skills class we're doing in the 9th grade. I would go down and grab a couple of these middle school modules, have them roll out first before you start with the high school modules. It just kind of gives them a feel of exactly what FoolProof's going to do. And again, once you're a FoolProof teacher, you get everything. You don't have to pick if you're a high school or middle school teacher, college teacher, parent, doing homeschool, it doesn't matter. Once you're a FoolProof teacher, you get everything. All right, so here's a video. This is the intro to the middle school message. Now again, these kids were picked because they're right on that 8th, 9th grade age for middle school students. So I just wanted you to see the quality of the video.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and I'm here with a couple friends, and we'll be with you for most of FoolProof. We wanted to tell you a little bit about FoolProof and the modules you're starting right now. Young people founded FoolProof. They founded it because they believe you deserve a heads up when it comes to your money and how you spend it.
None of FoolProof's founders are from families with money, and all of them have made a ton of mistakes in their lives, but they learn from those mistakes. Most of the stuff you hear about in FoolProof is based on what they learned. And here's the big lesson they learned. If you're going to be in control of your life, you need to be a healthy skeptic. When you're a healthy skeptic, you question anyone or any company that wants your money. FoolProof is about showing you how to be that healthy skeptic. Believe it or not, you're at a great time in your life to learn about questioning people. Know why?
You're going to get to build the habits that will determine how much control you have over your future. The habits you build can be bad habits or good habits. That's your choice. But if you understand what's going on around you, you're probably going to make better decisions and be a happier, more successful person too. You don't have to be what happens to you. You can choose who you're going to be. Which brings us to an interesting question. What makes a person grown up?
So that gets kind of is the lead-in for Foolproof for middle schools. And again, a middle school student doesn't really need to know credit score. They need to know about decision making. They need to know about the process of the decisions they make now, or the idea of what's a goal or what's a healthy habit can affect them down the road. And of course, if you want to go deep into financial literacy in your middle school class, I would say do Foolproof for middle school, all some of the high school parts into your middle school curriculum, because Foolproof for high schools, we have a lot of 8th graders doing it. I mean, I don't know if I'd want the 6th graders doing it, but we have a lot of 8th graders doing it as well. All right, this is what we're going to do for you. This is the really cool stuff about Foolproof. All Foolproof modules have self-graded tests. Now, usually if I was in person, I about get the standing ovation right about there. The idea is that having those tests graded for you and having them sent right to the back end of your Foolproof teacher account is you get it in a millisecond. The cool thing too is each module, there's 18 modules, 2 are guided practice. 16 of the modules have pre and post tests. So you're able to see what your pre-test score is for your kids in the first couple of slides, and then the information that they are getting in the module, and then they have their module test. We give you 3 figures when your student finishes the module: the pre-test score, the post-test score, and the standard learning objective difference inside of a millisecond. Now, if a student fails a test, you can reset it. They can go back and review the module again. We have a note-taking system on Foolproof. The notes drop down, they take notes, they study them before the module test, the notes disappear before the test. We randomize the test because we don't want the students to get the same questions. And our students never cheat, correct? Never. So the idea is that, especially, they're saying, well, how did he get 100 and I got a 20? I'm thinking you at the 20 looked at the 100 screen and or sat there together doing it when you're supposed to be quarantining remotely, and that's how you got the 20. You have the ability to track your students' progress. This is really cool. So you assigned Foolproof, and what I did in the classroom is I put the class up on the smart board, their names, not their grades, and it would show every student as they finished a section, the percentage of that progress. So you could actually be sitting at your desk, look at your computer, and then go back to the back of the room and say, hey, Johnny, how come you're not doing anything here? Everybody else is progressing 1%, 2%, 3%, and you're not doing anything. Now you think about it in remote world right now. I'm actually doing a class at LMU University in Los Angeles. We're sending interns who are going to be Foolproof teachers. They're going to have 20 to 30 LA students do Foolproof this summer. All digital. Now, the mentors are now my Foolproof class because they have to do Foolproof and show a certain point of expertise before they get hired. So I'm tracking these kids every day from Florida, and they're in LA, and I know exactly what they're doing, and I send them little notes. Hey, you better get going, or hey, you know, I see that you got question 4 wrong, and this is a really big concept. So it's really neat that you can actually see what your students are doing at all times, even remotely. You can customize the curriculum. The state standards, Maine has standards in personal finance. They're not a graduation requirement, so I know you're not that worried about them. But in the states that have a graduation requirement in personal finance, you can prove that your students met the standard by they completed the module and they passed the test. Now, we align 100% to this Maine standards at this point. So you have that option that when they finish the module and pass the test, the standards checked off. And of course, I'll show you how easy it is to sign up a class. Technically, the students sign up themselves. You give them the class code, they punch the class code in, they automatically are entered into your class. It's that easy. All right? So in 18-19, when we finish the 18-19 school year, had over 700,000 kids use Foolproof. We took 150,000 responses, totally random, of the questionnaire that we gave. 70% said they'd work through another Foolproof session in their own time. Gotta be doing something right. I mean, they'll do it on their own because they want to learn about them and their money. So when we talked about standard learning objective, if you look at the bullet point for number 3, in the 18-19 school year, 34.7% increase in standard learning objective knowledge from the start of the module to the end. 16 times average 34.7%. Now, I knew the number was wrong before that. Here's why. Prior to the 2018-19 school year, we gave the pre-test as a separate test. Now, I want you to think about this from an education point of view. You're using Foolproof. You tell your kids you got to do the pre-test. One kid asks, does this count? What's the teacher say? No, but you have to do it. Those numbers weren't right. First of all, our standard learning objective was 63%. Now, my board was really excited. Really, oh my God, we can't believe this great thing that we're doing. And I go, it's wrong. They go, why? I said, our kids aren't that stupid. They're not. I mean, I know, I've taught for a long time. I don't want to use the word stupid, but they're not. There's no way that number is right. And I said, what's happening is they're shotgunning the test. So they're getting like a 40 or a 30 on the test every time. And then, of course, they're getting knowledge and they threw the module tests. So we embedded 3 to 5 questions on the first 2 slides of every module. That number's right. I mean, I can talk about that number and I can be proud of that number all the time. But of course, my board weren't all educators and they were, wow, that's great. But no, that's not true. So that's what the pre and the post test does. So this is just kind of what we do in professional development. We don't have to do it. And here's why, because everything is online, it's digital. You can't break Foolproof. You can go on there and play with it, decide what you want to use, change your curriculum if it doesn't work. But a lot of school districts like someone to come in and train people. The only thing that Foolproof charges for, and it's not a deal breaker if you can't afford it, is to help us in the expenses when we come to school districts. So it's literally a travel expense and a small fee for the day because we're a small foundation. Now, if you went to me and you say, Mike, I just put together 7 teachers in Augusta, Maine that really want you to come up and spend a half a day with us, but we don't have any money, I'm coming to Augusta, Maine. A, I really like it there. B, I love the lobster roll on the coast. And C, I'm coming. I mean, we don't turn anybody down. But a lot of times, school district has professional development money and they have to spend it. And I was like, we really need to be involved in this because I, as a teacher, sat through a ton of professional development that I thought was useless. And I'm wondering if there was a way to be able to get something more creative and more concrete for education. So we've been doing this for about 2 years on the professional development side. And I've never had a school district say, you know, we can't help out in some way. So it's kind of nice. And it's a foundation to foundation, to be honest, because the school district is a not-for-profit, Foolproof's a not-for-profit. It's transferred over if they can pay for it, which isn't really anything that I'm that concerned with because I'm coming anyways. All right. Anybody got any questions so far before we go live? I got about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go kind of show you the website and then show you how you can register to be a Foolproof teacher. And then I will register as myself and I'll kind of show you some of the bells and whistles on the back end of Foolproof. Everybody okay?
Just a couple of things. One, do we still need 2 email addresses to register? A private one and the other one, because I only have one.
I think you're okay. The only reason we say private if your school blocks us, but we haven't had a block on a school in probably 5 years.
So I agree with that, but I was unable to register because it's a requirement on your registration field. So when
right.
I put anything in, I don't know if there's a dummy one I can put in so that I can still kind of bypass that, but that's an issue for me.
Do this.
Okay.
Send me an email,
Okay.
and
I will do that.
I will send you it by tomorrow. You'll have your username and password.
And I believe Maine does have a requirement now that for a financial standard.
They have a standard, but they don't have a graduation requirement.
I believe it is maybe Mary Dyer might be able to speak to that. I thought it was, but okay, thank you.
I don't think it is. I mean, we're pretty up on that, but if it is, you've just turned into one of the 7 in the country, because there's only 7 right now. You would be 8. The graduation requirement, they may have a district to district that you have to offer it, but to graduate, everybody has to take the class. But I'll look into it.
Mike, this is Mary Dyer. I'm happy to comment on that, although not as fully and eloquently as our DOE friends would. I think that we do not have a specific course requirement. As a local control state, it's up to the districts to decide the coursework and curriculum. But it is required, personal finance and economics are required in the Maine Learning Standards. So students are required upon graduation to have proficiency in those subjects. But there isn't a specific course or a semester course that's required. But it is, again, I'm not to get into the weeds too deeply, but I think our DOE experts would say it's certainly included, but there's a lot of gray and nuance there in terms of how you define required.
Yeah.
And as soon as there's no course being required, a specific course, I think that's where we kind of get away from that idea of a mandate. But it certainly is included and required to be taught as part of the Maine learning results.
Yeah, and so technically it's looped into economics.
It's looped actually into social studies. It lives in the social studies content area, and personal finance economics is part of that standard.
Yep.
And so it is included. Where we are different from other states, those 7 states that you mentioned, is it isn't defined as a specific course.
Correct.
Required. So.
Yeah. So, and actually that is pretty good news from our point of view, because we're the leader right now when it supplements into another class. So your economics, so I struggle with 2 things. Number one, your economics teachers sometimes don't want to do personal finance because they have the 56 whatever standards they are in economics, and they get all nervous. I can't get it all in. So in Florida, in Michigan, in Ohio, and all the schools in New York, they're using FoolProof modules as the step in to meet the requirement, which is great for us. On the other hand, personal finance, I'm a business teacher, former, so I always have that badge of honor. The idea is that I want to be able to teach a 20-week class. So the process is, working with NextGen and different companies like that, they're making that push to make that 20-week class the standard for the idea of, the 20 weeks for personal finance. But the nice thing about FoolProof is you can use it so many different ways in that process. You could drop into modules to meet it in the economics class. I know there's a financial algebra class that's being offered now. It's called different financial mathematics and everything else. But if I was a finance or a business teacher, which a lot of teachers who do personal finance, I would want to make sure that we're teaching it, because in the process in New York, we were able to keep 7 business teachers in a school that only had 1,700 kids in a high school because everything was money related. So that's just a great way to try to keep your program and different things like that. But that was great information. Thank you. So here's the FoolProof site. It's foolproofme.org. As you can see, there's a lot more to FoolProof than just the education. There's all this information for you on the coronavirus, all the things that are going on, the scams that are going on, affecting families and young people, and then all these articles and videos that we post. This is all outside of the curriculum. And again, anybody can use this And even as a foolproof teacher, you have the use of foolproof information and, of course, the curriculum, and then all these guides. Now, again, your students are going to be interested in the student loan guide or maybe the car buying guide or things of that effect. Here's the full story on Good Morning America that we talked about. But we just want to go into the education part, the curriculum side of it. So your students and yourself will all go into our site to log in. You go all the way to the right-hand side, you click in login, and you're going to go to teacher login. Now we have Foolproof for Solo that's having a facelift right now. Foolproof for Parents is there. We do, I don't know if you've seen, we put it out on all our social media. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 o'clock Eastern time, we do a Facebook Live. It's a half an hour information on Foolproof. So we're going to start working with Foolproof for Parents at this point. But if you go to teacher login and you want to request a teacher account, you just click on here. And then if you send this information to submit, inside of 24 hours, we will send you a username and password for Foolproof. What we want to do is we want to vet you to make sure that a student isn't becoming a foolproof teacher. Because that's bad. So again, we're going to ask for 2 email addresses. And the only reason we do is many school system blocks it. If it's a requirement, and you don't, it is because it has a star, just email me. Say, hey, Mike, I was on your main webinar. Send me your name and your email address at school. I will send you a username and password. We'll have it to you inside of 24 hours, so you'll be ready to go. Once you're a foolproof teacher, you're always a foolproof teacher. You're the only one that would delete your account. And once you get your information, you just enter it right in here to the teacher login. And this is the back page of Foolproof. So everything you need to review Foolproof as a curriculum is here. If you go to components, you can take a look at the middle school program. If you go to high school components, you have modules, assignments, and activities. So we have these funny names of the modules because, you got to remember our audience. When it hits the fan, they giggle at that. But if you want to see the core message, that's what's in the module. If you want to view the module, you can view the module. If you want to look at the test, you can look at the test. And of course, I have teaching guides there for all of you to introduce or to do something extra. All 18 modules are there. Okay? If you want to look at the assignments, you can see the assignments. And of course, we have activities. All the things that you could, that you would like to put into your classroom is there for you to use. Now, this is an online digital curriculum. You're never going to remember everything I said to you today. So, if you have a question, you can go up to frequently asked questions. Okay, they're all there for you. If you want to create a curriculum and you forget how to create a curriculum, you just click on curriculum and we'll show you how to do it right there. Okay, if you want to view your classes, these are some demo classes I have, they're all right there. How about if you want to transfer a student from one of your classes to another, or if your student is coming from a school that uses Foolproof, all that student has to do is fill out a transfer token, and his information or her information can be transferred from one class to another. So they don't have to redo any of those things. You can print out a certificate when your students finish in the certificate. Your students are able to put it on closed caption if that's an issue. When the students log in, they have the choice to make it Spanish. So they have that ability, okay? You have the ability to make some of your students, if some of your students, you have some students with special needs and they have some type of special education component, more time or someone to help them in the process of reading the modules or different things, we have a special education version of Foolproof. And all you would do is create your class. And when you've got those modifications for that student, all you would have to do is click on the student's name and switch them to the special education version of Foolproof for high schools. No one will know. It looks exactly the same as Foolproof for high schools, and the evaluation questions and answers are shortened. So we have all these little things in Foolproof, and I know we're at 2 o'clock, so I'm at my time, but the process is that you can get back here and play as much as you want and take a look at what we offer. And then if you have any questions moving forward, just reach out to me. And remember, it's just mike@foolproofhq.com. And then I'll say, yeah, try this, or yeah, that's a great idea. The one thing that you have to realize is you can't break this. So for instance, you know, if I wanted to set up a curriculum and I go to create a curriculum and I decide I'm going to do all the high school modules, 1 through 18. Those are the modules your students would see. But let's say you've created it and you say, wait a minute, we don't have time for 18. You can just come in and change these out and move the ones in and out that you want. And if you have any question with that, I'll be more than happy to help you. But we also have teacher quick start guides and we have student quick start guides. So there's a lot of information that is here for you that you're able to use in that process. All right. I did a lot of talking. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Type, do you have a check and then they'd have to pay bills or anything like that? Is that part of your platform or your program?
Yeah, you kind of broke up in the beginning. Can you repeat the question?
Do you have in your platform or your program something to do with like the kids getting like a paycheck and then having to pay bills, almost like a online billing type thing?
Yes. So in modules 4 and 5, that talks about the relationship of the financial institution. So we have the old school check. I think kids still need to know how to write a check. We have a couple of examples that they have to write one in different things. And of course, then we have all the online billing. So
Right.
they know how to do it.
However, it's not like a simulation where they have to do it for a month or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
But there are some really good ones out there. So you could actually let us do the teaching on how to do it, give a couple examples, and then you could supplement that one in. Anyone else?
What is the required test score for post tests?
So you get to pick it. When you create your curriculum, you get to pick the passing score. So in New York, it was 65. If it's 60 in Maine, you type in 60. If it's 70, 80. I used to have the 80 and 100 challenge with my students because when we did it, it was part of the grade. Foolproof was, the modules were only a percentage of the grade. I used to tell the students, I used to put 65 cents on the table, and I used to tell them, and I put $1 on the table, and I said, the state of New York says you're worth 65 cents on a dollar if you only get 65% on these scores. And we understood taxation, we already taught it, but in reality, that's what they're saying you're worth. So do you want to be worth 80? Do you want to be worth $1? And then we challenge them that way. So the idea was we had incentives for them to get 80 and 100. Now I couldn't go to my principal and say, Johnny didn't pass my class because he didn't get 100. That would be bad. But the idea is that, you can have some incentives in your class, and we call it the Foolproof 80% challenge, the Foolproof 100% challenge. And for them to get the reward, they had to get it on the first try. They would get a less award if they did it on the second try. But as a classroom teacher, I tried to motivate, to get that 100. We don't want kids failing personal finance. I mean, we don't. Believe me, you don't want me building your deck or building a house. I wasn't very good in geometry. I kind of get that, but we don't want anybody failing personal finance. So we want to make sure that they go through and get the concepts, and we work with them. And we always said, we're going to teach them up, because what happens in Foolproof, if you're sitting in a classroom setting and all your students are working on Foolproof, they have their headphones on and they're working on it, and a student finishes a test and you see the score and they weren't successful, you bring that student up to your desk and you can work with them. You know, you can say, okay, let's talk about question number 7. Let's do this. Do you want to do the module again? And then you reset the test and they get a randomized test. I'm not going to reward the student that doesn't do the work, but if someone wants to be successful, that's kind of our job as teachers to help them. And that Foolproof gives them that ability to do that.
Is there anything in the program that addresses the new like online banking, things like Chime and?
Yep. Modules 4 and 5.
4 and 5, okay.
Yeah. So 4 and 5 deal with having a relationship with a financial institution. Now, again, we're not telling you which one. I'm not telling you go to a credit union. I love credit unions, but I'm not doing that. I'm not telling you go to a bank. I'm not telling you to go to, you know, SoFi or Ally online banks.
Mm-hmm.
We're just giving as much information as we can to the students so they make a good decision. The other problem we're having right now is called bank deserts. Have you heard of that? Like, there's no banks in some parts of some states. So we're mostly in agricultural working areas. So where are these people having a relationship with an institution? And then you have to be careful on which one you choose online because of the fees and everything else. So you have to remember, people will find a way to make it a solution, but they'll find a way to take advantage of someone as well. So we just have to, like I said, we got to teach them up. Anything else?
No, thank you.
I really appreciate your time. I appreciate everything you're doing. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a teacher right now. And I mean, I feel like I teach every day, you know, teaching teachers and teaching, you know, school districts and parents. But in my 32 years of education, I don't even know how I'd handle everything that you're doing right now. And it is amazing to me that the education is still rolling out. And I like to thank, you know, Mary and Jumpstart Maine. And, you know, I hope to be there next year in person. I hope we can all get together. If you have any questions on using Foolproof, just reach out to me. We'll get you started. We'll get you online. You could, I don't know how much time you have left in your school year. If you're still looking for something digitally, we could get you going we could get you going tomorrow if you had to. But in the process, if you're looking something for next year or anything, you know, if we go back to school on time, great. Or even if we don't, you could set up your class remotely and get them started. We're just kind of in uncharted waters now. We're not quite sure exactly what's going on.
Mike, you were talking about your half-day and full-day training. Now, are you offering that remotely?
Yes. So if you wanted anything at this point right now, there's no travel expense to that.
Right.
There's nothing. We're even waiving our fee. So, I mean, for instance, if I came to Maine and you wanted me to come in and do it, it'd be a travel expense, and it's like $1,000 for the training. We'll do everything. I'll do it right from my office. I just did a 3-hour training. I'm pretty versed in it. We can do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so do you have anything scheduled coming up or a calendar to look at for?
Yeah, if you want to send me any dates that you have, I'll work with you.
Okay.
There's 1 week in June. It's June 8th through the 12th that I'm totally booked. But if you wanted to do, you know, anything around there, I mean, again, you know, we're working with people's time. It all depends on how long you want to do it. Like I said, we did 2 3-hour trainings in LA. And they went pretty well. We take breaks, we do it. The nice thing about Zoom is you get some type of face-to-face interaction and different things like that. But whatever you need, we'll set it up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great, what day is it? Wednesday?
Yeah, I think so.
When you're not in school and you're supposed to be retired, you're not really sure what day it is. You just look at your calendar and do what you got to do. But thanks for everything. Let me know if we can help in any way, and I appreciate your time and efforts, and be safe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.